Good morning. What's good about it? You may well ask. Now, Giordano, a Bruno, was burnt at the stake in Italy. There's a square in the centre of Rome. I used to live under Ponte Palatino in Rome, living out with no money, as one does. And there it is. He was a former Roman Catholic priest, mathematician, philosopher, and all that stuff, who disagreed with the big church, the Roman Catholic Church position. His dates are sort of 1553 or something to 1600 or so. Now, why? So like Galileo, people have heard of Galileo, he didn't actually get martyred by the Roman Catholics. Why do one group of people object to someone who disagrees with them? To the extent, especially purportedly Christian people, the Roman Catholics at that time, that they had to burn this fellow at the stake just because he wouldn't agree with. He was sort of saying, there's just slightly more to the universe than this earth and our sun and so on and stuff like that. So, why, persecute anyone, quite frankly, because they're different? Indeed. So obviously the Jews have had it in the neck the longest of any race, nation, just because they are what they are. The Chinese are going in for it with these Uyghur Muslims because they don't conform to the current sort of Chinese position. We, on the other hand, in the West, have so very sadly gone totally the other way that anything goes, quite frankly. Have a bit of a mishmash, put a bit of faith to someone's faith, or stick it all in a great big melting pot and sort of mix it up, a la that song, Great World Melting Pot and all that. Who was that by? World's a Great Big Melting Pot and so on, that song. Sort of 70s, I think it was. And it'll all be fine. Well, I say rubbish to that as well, actually. So, if you go so liberal that anything goes and, it doesn't really matter and so on, these things matter. I am a Christian. I try, to the best of my ability, day by day, as in take up your cross and follow me each day, to listen to Christ. Christ came to bring us God's word, thereby to understand God in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I mean, it's inherent in human nature, this wariness of strangers, which to some extent is probably a good thing and understandable. Someone turns up from nowhere, you know nothing about them, their past, this, that, and the other thing. Well, it makes sense to some extent to want to know a bit more about them and not just what they say. Their story, as it were, there may be more to it. Just as a small aside, well, it's quite large to me, but I had to go to the Wandsbek Hospital yesterday. My poor old heart's knackered. And I'm awaiting a big total left knee replacement revision down at the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital, Stanmore, for which I've been waiting nearly 3 years. Anyway, 8:37 bus from the bus station, and this blasted little fellow, this Alan from Liverpool fellow with his children, comes by. I did absolutely nothing. I just stood there and sort of looked at him, and he can't help himself. The guy's sick in the head. He needs psychiatric help. For heaven's sake, he bawls out nonce and other obscenities right there in the bus station with all sorts of people all around. Oh, God. So off I go to the hospital, all day in the hospital. Bad news, my heart is knackered. Well, I sort of knew that, actually, so it's no news to me. Anyway, get home about 7 p.m, so I spent the whole day there, tests and all that. Pretty tired. Lo and behold, I see my downstairs windows are egged. I go upstairs to my chapel, the main bedroom, and I see he's done the upstairs windows too. Now, I didn't see him do it, but this is now the third egging of this property. So there we are. The guy is sick in the head. Poor little fellow. He needs psychiatric help. Turning to St. Bruno, not St. Bruno, it's not St. Bruno. St. Bruno is the founder of the Carthusian monks back in 1084. So Giordano Bruno is a different Bruno. I miss Rome, actually, and I just went with no money. I just went. And the thing in Rome is, and all over Italy, actually, they're obviously tradition, ethos, and so on is Roman Catholic, historically and at present, and they have this compassionate attitude towards those less fortunate than themselves. So there are any number of places you can go, churches and all the rest of it, just to get food, just like that. You just turn up, no questions asked, doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. You get fed, and very often it'll be a convent or a church or monastery or something like that. So I could survive in Rome with zero money. I did it 2 sort of periods of 6 months, actually, I think. But I was then in the centre of Rome, okay, instead of paying mega bucks at some big fancy hotel, which I don't like anyway. I don't like being in a big fancy hotel with lots of fluffy towels and all that. That's horrid, actually. I go off for a weekend break, long weekend or something in Rome or Italy or something. I actually lived there, and you have the opportunity to sort of calm down and settle down. It's not all so exciting. Your spirit is less kind of enervated by the sort of holiday side of it. And then you, I think, get a much truer perspective of wherever you go to. So I've always done that. Likewise, I went up to Assisi and Perugia in Umbria for St. Francis, whom I love so, and of course the Poor Clares, and lived there for periods of 3-6 months, for more than a year overall, in the back of a monastery or something, basilica or whatever, living out again with no money. Well, I'm still here to tell the tale. In Italy, I never got any trouble at all. I wear a sort of Christian tunic, a monk's habit or whatever you want to call it. I call it a Christian tunic. Well, I'm monastic in my ways. I've actually avoided becoming a fully paid-up, card-bearing member of the Benedictine monks through the Roman Catholics. I find hypocrisy in the big church. I find hypocrisy in the big Church of England, much smaller, obviously. So I'm not a priest through them either. I mean, I telephone the old bill, the police, I inform them of these matters. But this is Northumbria, so the police of Northumbria, and they're worse than useless because they don't do anything. We know who is doing this. The man kicked in my front door. I saw him do it. What's the point of a crime number if they have a little look at it and they say, we haven't got sufficient evidence? Why isn't my word sufficient evidence? I just fail to understand that. I've now got an IOPC, Independent Office of the Police Complaints, or whatever it is, thing in to the Chief Constable, Mr. Winton Keenan, which is going to be reviewed by the police, therefore them marking their own homework, of course. So you don't expect much from that either. It's not independent. No one wants to admit to their failings, quite frankly. The man is sick in the head. I'm a Christian, I have a medical background, not in psychiatry, more in orthopedics, in fact, or oncology medicine too. But it's quite clear to me he's got complexes of some description, and he's focused on me and taking it out on me. Well, clearly, again, the only way it's going to stop is if the police act appropriately and arrest him. Amen. No, I'm on about old Giordano, Bruno and Rome. I really enjoyed myself in Rome. I was free, I was living right in the centre of Rome. I could walk then, my old leg hadn't sort of collapsed on me yet. I used to walk miles from one end of Rome to the other, just anywhere I thought, where I'll go today, and I'd go to the Vatican, or I'd go up. There was this long straight street, and another square up there, and a beautiful big garden up there, and the river, and Monte Palatino, and somewhere called Trastevere, so the river Tiber is called Tevere in Italian. Incidentally, the Giordano Bruno, there's a square in Rome, and they have a lovely market there, proper market, mostly selling vegetables and fruit, and a few stalls doing other stuff, and meats and cheese, and a proper market. I mean, the market here in Alnwick is just absolute rubbish. It's the same old people selling the same old tat week after week after month, after year actually. Exactly the same old tat comes out week after week. As I say, I remember it from last year too. It really is a crappy little market. But anyway, this is my Christian place. Here I am, and I'm certainly not turning tail just because of this one horrid, nasty little fellow. For heaven's sake. And, for that matter, however many police people fail to see the reality of what's going on here and how useless they are. Positively worse than useless, actually. They seem to have given this fellow carte blanche to do what he likes in a massive, harassing way. He comes across here and screams obscenities at my front door. It's rubbish. I'm trying to get to end on a happy note, which I almost got to. Rome, Giordano Bruno. Right, so there was a little coffee place. I've been sleeping out there under this arch place, so it was dry, but very, very noisy. These little the Romans drive as though there's no tomorrow. If you've ever seen a Roman parking, they treat their cars like blooming bumper, dodging cars at the fair. Oh, there's a space, I'll get in there. And they literally nudge forwards and backwards the two other cars till they get in. Never mind the bumpers and the lights and everything. There we are. I got to a happy note. Cheerio! Oh no, I was going to say, so there was a coffee place, so I'd be up early, 6 o'clock, just opening up and have my coffee. Well, I can now make my own beautiful coffee, and I do choose Italian coffee. There's something, Italian roast or whatever they do, I don't know, from Morrison's, but so it just reminded me of happier times in Rome. Amen.